Hey everybody, this is Tony Underwood, your music coach, your guitar coach, and I'm just kind of in between lessons here today, so I thought I would make a quick video to show you a little something about how to pick a guitar to get ready for your lessons. I'm having a series of online lessons called Play Guitar Now, and I welcome you into that and hope you'll join in. You can get information down below this video in the links, or you can, if this is on Instagram or Facebook, you can message me, or there's links there as well for you to get information on that course. It's going to be a 12-unit course that should take you anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks, depending on what your schedule is and how much time you can put in. The basis of the course is going to be 12 one-hour modules. We're going to go over everything you need to know to get you where you want to be. And I'm going to post some videos later to show you exactly what you'll be able to do at the end of the course. And I'm going to get you there because I believe in you. I believe you can do this. There's lots of courses out there. There's lots of people giving lessons. And I would say, use all of that. But most people don't. So that's why I developed this course. It's for the people that, for whatever reasons, aren't taking private lessons, aren't teaching themselves, or aren't using other courses out there. But I'm going to tell you pretty much everyone should be able to do this. I'm not only going to have the video lessons for you, I'm going to do live Zoom calls or FaceTime calls, and we'll do group calls, master classes, or if we need to, I'll do some one-on-one with you. Because I want to get you to where you want to be, and that's what life's about. We're at the what is, and we want to get to the what ought to be, and getting there is the problem. And I'm going to facilitate that. I'm going to get you there. I've been doing this for, around 30 years. I've been involved in music as a performer. I compose and market and write my own music. I own a music school and a dance studio and an acting school. And I have taught thousands of students. I've played thousands of venues, and I still market my own music. And even with doing all that, there's a large part of people out there that want to learn to play the guitar, but they just never will for different reasons. And I've tried to isolate those pain points, I call them, and solve those problems. And I'm here to get you there like your coach in high school. I'm not going to be screaming in your ear or yelling at you and things, or making you do laps, but I'm going to make you do musical laps, and I'm going to be right there every step of the way. So the only reason you won't do this is if you're physically and mentally incapable of doing, which I understand, and I'll still work with you if you're having some problems with that, or the point that you give up, that you just say, Tony, it's just too much for me right now. I can't do it. I'm going to make that decision to stop. Then, kind of all bets are off. I can't really do that. Because the number one factor in this, and I'll tell you a little life lesson in life too, is giving up. It's committed, staying with it and not giving up. Too many people don't believe in themselves because they're not taught to believe in themselves, and they end up giving up. Well, I'll tell you that the biggest difference between the people that succeed and the ones that don't is the people that succeed didn't give up. Now, there are forces out there beyond our control, and they certainly can have an effect on you. But for most people, most of the time, just look at that as another obstacle to go around. If you can't go through the mountain, go around it, go over it, or, you can actually go the other way. And if you go the other way far enough, you'll get to the other side of that mountain. So here we go. I'm going to talk a little bit today just about how to choose a guitar. Now, I have some affiliate links. I'm going to put that down that you can find these kind of guitars. You can find them anywhere, but let me caution you going out blindly buying guitars or using a guitar you already have. If you borrow a guitar from somebody, it might be a high-priced guitar that's been set aside for many years, and it's probably not the best thing for you because, for one, it might not work very well. it might not work the way you want it. And if it's a really expensive guitar, you don't want to be clanging it around back and forth here and there, opening the case, setting it up against their wall, it falling over somebody's $2,000, $3,000 guitar. And plus, if they've been setting up for any length of time, they might not work properly, even though they're a fantastic guitar. I also caution you about going online and buying the cheapest thing you can find, because listen, the difference in a great guitar and a guitar that's not going to work is nothing, because you can find guitars in the $100 to $150 range that will last forever, work perfectly for you, and you can continue to use it just about your whole career. You might change out the strings or have something done on it, but it will last that long. Now, most people move up to another guitar within a few years, and that's okay too. You'll have a backup or a practice guitar, or what I recommend is if the guitar is no more use to you, why don't you see if you have a relative or someone that's in need of a guitar that wants to take lessons and gift that to them. They would love it, let me tell you. I would have loved that when I was a child, if somebody had gifted me a guitar. And sometimes you can find these on sale, but I would stick with a reputable company that you have a place to go into. And here's why. Here's the scenario. Everybody's excited. The mom and dad go on the interwebs and buy a $60 guitar. Now, that's usually perfectly fine, but this one happens to arrive damaged. I just ordered a guitar from a reputable company and it arrived damaged. I had to send it back, and it was a pain. If you got to box it up, tape it up, do all these printings, put it on there, call somebody, go drop it off. You know, these times you don't want to be going places you're not sure of. It went well, but I'm a professional. It was a little bit, you know, for me, a little bit, it was a little bit tiring and something I didn't really want to do, frustrating. So I can imagine, and I've seen it, they get a guitar, it's either not the right one or it's broken and they have to send it back, and then it's who's pays shipping and all. So do a reputable company that you can go into. The company I'm affiliating you with is Sam Ash. They're one of the largest companies out there, period. They have stores everywhere. They're still a family-run store. You can still go and find an Ashkenazi in that store. They shortened it to Ash, Sam Ash. And they work with a lot of people in the industry. They work with performers, so they have very good stuff. Their inexpensive stuff is very good, and it will last you. Having said that, you're fine to buy from anyone else, but I would submit, don't let that be the reason you stop taking lessons. If you have a guitar that doesn't quite work or have something else, and don't be afraid to switch, because I think in our lives, if we look back, if you say, I could have been a total success if it weren't for a $200 guitar, would you go back and buy that guitar? I think you would. I would, and I think most people would do that. So don't let that hold you back. So what kind of guitars do we have? I'm going to go over the basic guitar. It hasn't changed in centuries. It has changed a little bit in style. This is a steel string acoustic guitar. This is just an acoustic guitar. And what happens is the strings vibrate, and that vibration vibrates these tone woods. The vibration rolls around in this box, which it's open, and it gets amplified, and it comes out this sound hole and out everywhere, pushes air molecules around, and it pushes it into your ear. Your ear has a drum. That drum feels those air molecules, and through a series of little bones, the malleus, incus, and stapes, it goes into the cochlea, which is looks like a snail, a tiny, tiny instrument filled with fluid, and it receives those signals and sends it to your brain and turns it into music. It also helps you keep your balance. So that's why sometimes if you're a little sick or a little stuffy and you don't feel quite well, your hearing is going to be off. So now the type and frequency and indication and the presence of what's called harmonics decide what the instrument sounds like. So let's say you're listening to a trumpet or a trombone or a violin or an electric guitar or a human voice. They might sing the same frequency, which is the pitch, the letter name of that note, but it will sound different because it's a human being singing or it's a guitar playing. That's called the timbre. And every guitar has its own timbre, even the same guitar, because guitars are not made to be perfect everything, because then you just get to be computer music, and it's kind of tiring to listen to that when everything is exactly what's called perfect or the same, because it becomes the same. It would be like us if we all looked the same. If we were all just a round, just think we were a red bowling ball head. That was everything. And, we had eyes and ears and mouth, but you couldn't really see them, and everybody was the same. It wouldn't be much of a good world, would it? I don't think it would. So this is your acoustic guitar. It has 6 strings. They're made out of metal. Some of them are just wire. Others are wire with another wire wrapped around it. And it has what's called the body, which is this part. It has the head, which is at the top, this part. It has the neck, has the fretboard. These usually metal lines are called frets. They're raised. When we say about fretting the instrument later, we're talking about this space in between, because that's where we put our fingers. And by putting our fingers, what we do is we shorten the string. So if you notice, the string goes from this first fret called the nut, 0 fret we call it, to the bridge, and that's where the strings end. So it's this length, and it's tightened by these little tuners. You twist them, and there's some gearing, either where you can see the gearing or internal, and it makes a noise. Now, if I shorten that string, let's say I put my finger on this first fret, which would be the space in between, I'm going to push down. Now the string is touching this metal bar, and it stopped the vibration from there. So effectively, this string is now, instead of this length from here to here, it is now from here to here. It's shorter. And listen. Hear the pitch go up. Now, that's how you can play melodies. And these strings get thicker as they get lower in pitch. You can hear that. And then you can play multiple strings and play what we call a chord. And you'll see I'm pressing multiple strings there. I'm pressing this second string, first fret, skipping. Next string, second fret. Next string, third fret. That's a C chord. Do, mi, so. That's a chord, and there are different chords. I change my fingering, and the chord is different. And you can hear that this instrument isn't amplified. It's just in the air, in the ether. A lot of people can put what's called a pickup in here. You can buy them. They just slip in, or they stick on, or they can be put under here by a luthier, or under here somewhere. And what it does is it picks up it has magnets in it, and it picks up the fluctuation caused by these string vibrating and turns that into an electrical signal, sends that to what's called an amplifier that uses either tubes or transistors and power banks to amplify it, sends that to a speaker, which is kind of a reverse eardrum. It has a piece of paper or some substance, and a magnet vibrates it, and just like the string vibrates, the cone of the speaker vibrates and turns that into sound. But most people, this is the guitar I recommend for 99.9% of you, even if you want to play electric guitar. Here's why. If you want to play a certain kind of guitar, let's say you want to be a fingerstyle guitarist or an electric guitarist or a folk guitarist or whatever, the basics are easier to learn on this guitar. And plus, let's say you want to be an electric guitarist. If you want to really be good and, at least play just for yourself maybe, you're going to need to get, and you're going to want to get a guitar that's going to cost you more than a basic guitar. So you're going to want something that's more than $150. In fact, you're probably going to want something in the $500 to, could be $5,000, but definitely $500 to $1,500 range. That's a top-level amateur to pro instrument that will last you for your life, whatever you want to do. Here's the thing, you don't know what that guitar is yet. I can tell you good guitars, but that's me. You have your own style you're going to develop, your own desires and wants. And you're going to want to have some knowledge so you can go play some guitars, because every guitar is different. And the more expensive, the bigger the differences. So you want to really know what you want, know what you like. And you can find all that out on this $150 guitar. This particular guitar was $80. It's been several years, but this is a Johnson guitar. It's a basic guitar. And you'll find basic guitars like this on the affiliate link and elsewhere. So this is the guitar that you can play, you can finger pick. You can play all types of classical music on this. You can finger pick this. You can play pop music. You can do everything. Like I said, you can buy a little pickup. Some of those are as little as $50 and less. And plug it into an amp. You can do the next step, which I'll talk about in a minute, which is called an acoustic electric, which is this guitar with a pickup already built in. And it has a little hole where you plug in a wire. I'll show you that later. Now, the other thing you might see is this part of the guitar is cut away. And that way you can get down to these frets without having to do this. I'll show you that here next. But this is the basic guitar. It's just an acoustic steel string guitar. Now, there's another guitar that looks very much like this, and in fact can look exactly like it, but is different. And that's a nylon stringed acoustic, or classical guitar, they call it. And the difference is the strings. The basic of the strings is nylon. I don't know if you can see, it's plastic. Now, the thicker strings, the lower strings, do have metal wound around that nylon. But if you listen, it's a little different sound, yeah. You hear that? And there's your... Sounds a little softer, but that's also the sound you get with playing classical music, or what's called fingerstyle, where you're picking a lot of notes with either your fingers or with picks on your fingers, or you can use it. I've seen people use a single pick that they pick crazy. Some people use a single pick in their pinky, and lots of different ways. The basic is to use your three fingers plus your thumb. And this kind of guitar you can start with as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And the differences mainly are that the sound's a little softer. Picking the strings is easier on your fingers. I'm going to get to that in a second. And the neck, or the fretboard, is wider. From here to here is thicker. Gives you more room. Now, it also is a little tougher on smaller people with smaller hands, smaller stature folks, sometimes ladies or smaller hands, younger kids, because you want to keep your thumb behind this neck. So the differences are the neck and the fretboard is wider here. From here to there is a lot wider. It gives you more places to get your fingers in when you're moving them. Now, the other problem with that is, though, is people smaller in stature with smaller hands, a lot of times ladies, younger, and men as well. But, you know, generally ladies are a little bit smaller in stature than men on average. And younger students, their fingers don't do that. So sometimes you have to get a different size guitar. And this is full-size student model. They have jumbos, bigger. A dreadnought is a typical style. And then in classical and in others, they'll have in fourths. So a 4/4 is a full size. A 3/4 is a little smaller, half, and quarter. Now, it doesn't go down that quick. It's just the way they're sizing it. A 3/4 is not 3/4 the size. It's a little more than 3/4, but it's a couple inches difference, and that makes a big deal. because what you want to do is sizing this is you want to put it on your leg. This is my left leg, and your hand just kind of hang over like this, where you can get over the sound hole, and your left hand can get here. So I'll have this put out a little better in another video. And you can put it on the other leg, which is fine, or you can have it up like this. A lot of times if you put it on your left leg, you can get a stand, very inexpensive, or use a block of wood that lifts your leg to where this sits on it, and now you're in good playing position. A lot of people do that as well. So that's the difference, and you can also get these with pickups in them. Now you can also just use a microphone to amplify it, but this is a good starter guitar. This is called a nylon stringed acoustic, and again, they have cutouts and ones with pickups built in as well. That's not a problem. So let's go to that style with the pickups in it and the cutaway. Now this is a specific kind of guitar. It's an Ovation. An Ovation brought back the rounded back. See how the back of this is rounded? And it's a little thinner. They have ones with a much deeper bowl. And that's how the early vihuelas were, which is the early precursor to the guitar. Mariachi bands still use vihuelas. And it imparts a little bit different sound. It's a little bit better sound, I think, for the thinness of a guitar. If you get a thin line with a flat back, it has a very tinny sound. This has a much nicer sound. Again, it has the little bit thinner neck and slim, so it's a little easier to work. Because I said the best place for your thumb is right behind, I also realize that people use that thumb to come over, especially in electric, and they'll use it. And you'll see a lot of people hooking because they're really doing some intricate things on this thin neck. And you really have to. I know a lot of guitar teachers will say, oh, you can't do that. Well, some of the best players in history have done it. So yes, you can. Now, should you play a nylon string acoustic like that? Probably not. A regular acoustic? Probably not, but there might be times. Should you learn hooking your thumb? No, that's something you do later. You want to get this back here because it gives you much better clamping power, because at first that's a problem with fingers. I'm going to go into fingers in a minute. So this guitar has a hole right here that you plug in. Let's see if I can do this without knocking this guitar down. Let's see what we got here. There we go. So this just plugs in there. This has let's see if we get anything here. That's overdrive, clean. So that's plugged in, that give you that amplification. Now the thing about I'm going to unplug this because it will do what I'm going to talk about, is called feedback. And I'm not going to show you feedback, but you've probably heard people who are singing and it's a real loud noise suddenly comes in. Well, the guitars do that as well. And a hollow body tends to do it more than what's called a solid body. Now this has some buttons and knobs. That is the preamp, and it usually has a battery in it. And that's how that helps that signal go. The pickup is actually underneath this part. It's a little piezo pickup, piezoelectric. So here's your acoustic electric, and this is actually a thin back. It doesn't have to be rounded, but they're all good too. And the holes are a little different, the sound holes in these. And And that's just personal preference and other reasons. I did this because I was working all the time for long periods of time standing up. This very light guitar, and I need to be able to go from acoustic to electric very quickly, and this fit the bill. And it sounded really good, so that's why I got that. So the last guitar we're going to look at is the basic solid body electric. This is a Gibson Les Paul, you can see, but any of these, it's solid wood. Now it does have some chambers in it. This has very few. This is a true solid body. Has a chamber here for electronics and a chamber here for some electronics. You'll see the switches on either side. You see these switches here correspond to this, and this hole up here corresponds to this switch. And it has the pickups, which pick up the sound. Now, I don't know if you heard that, but it does have a weak sound to it. But it does have a sound. So let's plug this in. And I'm not really giving you a demo on the guitar today. I just wanted you to know what it sounded like. You can hear that? We'll go to, that's really a blues overdrive sound. See what else we got here. Now, there, that's the sound. And as you see, we got some feedback there, which is normal on the overdriven sounds. So, I'm not using an amplifier. I'm using an emulator or a program that's built into my iPad and GarageBand. And well, just hold this on. But you will plug that into an amp. Amps are another whole thing. I would suggest getting a very small amp. I'll do something on getting an amp for you. Let's talk about fingers. So fingers, where you press these little rods, your fingertips, and I'm going to press one down here real. You can see that's the very tip of my finger, that line, that's where that should be. Now it's possible you'll see the pad of this finger. See, that's on the pad. See that line down there, right there? It goes crossways. That's another way of doing the string. We suggest this. Now, I would say the main reason that people stop taking guitar lessons is because their fingers hurt. And you might not think that's a big deal. Oh, I'm a big, tough man, tough woman. I can take it. I'm a kid, I can take it. Well, you can't because most people quit. They don't even realize it. If you've ever eaten a food and gotten sick immediately afterwards, the next time you go to eat that food, it's almost like you are getting sick again. You see, you're not thinking about it. That's just happening. That's just your body's reaction. The same way with pain. You have the highest concentration of nerve sensors, one of the highest, is in your fingertips. And so when your fingers are hurting, it's tough. That's why a paper cut hurts. Because if it's somewhere else, there might be, and I'm just throwing out a number, 500 nerve sensors in that area. There might be 5,000 here. So it hurts. So what I recommend is that people do very short 10 to 15 minute practices at first. So in other words, you're only pressing the strings 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time. If you go back the next day and it really hurts, take another day. And then there's some other things we can do. One of the tricks is to take a Band-Aid and take the just the tape part and put that on the tip of your finger. And if it still hurts, then put the actual pad part of the Band-Aid. Now you only do that after you have practiced with nothing on your fingers. So once your fingers begin to hurt, not when they're hurting really badly, when they begin to hurt, put the piece of tape part of the Band-Aid on it and see if that helps. If that still doesn't help, go ahead and put the pad on it. And then the next time you practice, you don't put the Band-Aid on, you go back to the raw finger and put the Band-Aid on it afterwards. And by doing that and by practicing 3 to 5 times a week, even short practices, you'll build up, the tissue will get tougher. You won't necessarily get a callus. For me, a callus is actually a piece of skin that thickens that you can see. You don't always get that. Sometimes you do, but most of the time your fingers just get tough. The tissue responds and gets tougher. Plus, you get a lot better in when to press, because if I'm pressing this string here, I can press it this hard and this hard, and it doesn't matter. It's the same sound. So what I do is I say press, play, and then soften. Right there is about as soft as I need to press, just a little more. That's a lot softer than I was pressing originally. So you take some time to work that out a little bit too, and that helps your fingers. So I'm going to give you 2 more tips. The other tip is when you're reading your music with the guitar, what I found is, I'm going to say the camera's my music. Most people will face it like this, so they'll have to look left to their left hand, look down, look up, look left, down, up, left, down, up, left. You're not sure, where am I? So what I do, and see I'm facing, and the guitar is perpendicular, it's running off one way. So I actually turn my entire body around to this way, and my hand and top is pointing at my music. Well, now I'm looking at the camera, which is my music. I just glance down a little bit, I'm at my fingers, and this is the most important hand to get. And then I can play with my right hand. And figure all that out. Now, how was it I didn't have to look at my right hand? Well, I've played guitar a while, but the other thing is, another tip is to anchor your hand. So I'm going to put my pinky or a couple fingers there. So now, if I have a pick, which I haven't been using a pick, but most of you will be, see if I can get through this here in a certain amount of time. I can move up, and I find that bottom string, and then I can move right on top of it and pick. And then for the second string, I found that one, I just go up, there's the second string. And when I play the second string, my pick rests on the first string. So now I know where I am. I can go back to that second string and play it again, or I can play the first string, and so forth. And my hand is anchored. So it's none of this, everybody tries this a lot. No, it's just pressing the pick down, your hand is anchored, and you let the point of the pick, you let it relax a little bit, see it moves up a little and pops the string. If you try to do it this way, you're just going to dig into the string, it's not going to work. So we practice that. And that's another tip. You're anchored, and turn around when you're playing so that your music, your hand is all in one line, and your body has to face 90 degrees away, like this. So people will try this, and that just doesn't work. So that's your 3 tips, which is to anchor your right hand, to have your music and left hand lined up and your body facing 90 degrees. And also to use, you can use the tape part of a Band-Aid or the Band-Aid itself, and practicing a little bit. And I'm going to give you a bonus. I also recommend you buy a music stand. There are little wire music stands for $5, $10, and there's regular nice stands for $20 and up. And also, don't worry about a bag or a case for your guitar. If you're going to get anything, just get what I'd call an inexpensive, maybe $15, $20 gig bag. And you really don't need that. You can carry the guitar with you in your car and take it in for your lessons, but you're going to be at home, and I recommend it be out, setting up right by your music stand, right by your kitchen type chair. That's where you're practicing. So get your device to watch the video, your music. We're going to send you music as part of the lessons, your music stand, and it's all in the open. So all you have to do is, just like I'm going to do, is assume I just walked by and now I sat down. I'm going to pick up my guitar. My music is right here, and I'm going to start playing and practicing. And if have my phone with me, I'll just set it on the stand, turn it on, and there's my lesson. Now these you think this might be a little thing, but this can be the difference in success and failure. So you want that to be in your practice area. That's a nice, calm area. You don't want to be ostracized from the house. You don't want to be out in the dungeon or in the tree house or in the basement. You know, your room or a corner of a room that's not used a lot while you're in there, where it's fairly quiet and you can concentrate. And even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, you can use that and put that to really to good use. So where will you be at the end of this 12 weeks? You will have a basic knowledge of music. You will be able to play pop songs. You'll be able to practice and play more intricate things. You'll have a really good grasp on chords, and that's the main thing with the guitar at first, is to play chords. That's where you play, and you can sing along, or other people can sing along. And I'll show you this a little bit more in some other videos, but I wanted to just take a minute here and talk a little bit about getting guitars. Like I said, you can go to, have a website link. It's the Underwood School, and go to store, and there's an affiliate picture that you can just click. I'm starting to populate that with actual instruments, but it's the same place. You can just go to the store and look around for these instruments. I'll have some information for you on how to choose a guitar in writing, so you can kind of look at that while you're choosing. And then look for the timing, because I'm going to open this up when it's ready within the next month or so. I'll open up the enrollment, and then I'll close the enrollment after a few weeks, because I want to be able to sit down with my group and do a Zoom call and know who it is without having new people coming in and going. And then I'll open it up a little bit later time for a new group. But, you know, I want you to know that I'm in this with you till the end. I'll be your coach. You know, I can't give you 24/7 service. You will have to wait a few days sometimes for me to get back to you and so forth. But when you have questions, you send them in. And then on my Zoom calls, I'll take all the questions and get everybody that has that question together. I can do master classes if we're having more problems, and I can do some one-on-ones if you're really having a difficulty. And we'll get you through this. I know you can do it. I have faith in you. I believe that you can accomplish this. And let me tell you, music is something you're going to have for the rest of your life, and it's going to be really good. So I hope to see you soon. Look for those links and things. And if you have any questions about this or about the course, throw them at me. I might do a webinar just about the course, about what it is and who should take it and things like that, and invite you in on that. Do a live on that. So let me know about that, and we'll talk about that as well. So this is Tony Underwood, your music coach, and I'm talking about my series of online lessons called Play Guitar Now, and it's for the ranked beginner to somebody who maybe has played a year or two. You know, anyone under a professional or under someone who plays regularly and can play songs and things already. But we go from the very beginning to a place where you can play that music and so forth. And you can continue on in your learning, because music is all about learning. When you're 90, you're learning new stuff, because you're always seeing something somebody's doing. You're like, how'd you do that? Or taking a class or taking a lesson. Even professionals do that. So this is a great start, and I think it's going to hit a group of people that otherwise wouldn't take lessons. And I think the way I'm doing this is unique to get to you, to make sure that you fulfill your dream, that you succeed in this, that you accept this challenge and overcome it. And I'm going to be there for you every step of the way as your music coach. So Tony Underwood, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.